Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Justin Lorber. And today we're talking about a guy who is on the 40-man roster, a prospect who has been sort of on the fringes of the top half of a lot of these lists, and yet who is absolutely destroying the baseball thus far this season. That is Jacob Amaya down at Double-A. Here are his numbers. He's got an OPS of almost 1.3, 7 home runs, 16 extra base hits. He's got more walks than strikeouts as we record this. Justin, you're our prospect guy. You're the guy that digs in, does the rankings, all that kind of thing. Has Jacob Amaya changed his perception in your mind this season?
I think for now it's a closely monitored situation. And I say that because I haven't seen any of the underlying numbers. An increase in max exit velocity that would indicate he has more raw power than he did, or at least I thought he did 2 months ago, or, his 90th percentile max exit velo, which also is used as kind of a raw power. If that's increased, that would be something. Without knowing that, I can't say it's changed too much after just, a few weeks of games. Now, if it continues into, next month or two and he continues hitting he has, then I think that would change. But it's a closely monitored situation for me now.
Okay, so looking at your report, heading into the season, you had Amaya as the 22nd ranked prospect in the Dodgers system. But one of the things I find interesting is that defensively, you never had issues with him. The question was always going to be offense and whether or not he could kind of figure out the low walk rate, the high strikeout rate, that type of thing moving forward. Is that fair, sort of like as a overall picture of what you thought of Amaya heading into the year?
Yeah, defensively, he's very solid. His power took a step forward last year. He hit a career-high 12 home runs, but that came with a decrease in walk rate, an increase in strikeout rate, and an increase in swinging strikeout rate, which is not something that he really had throughout his minor before that. He'd always had a really high walk rate, saw a bunch of pitches, didn't strike out a ton. The promising thing and the encouraging thing that has come with this year's power surge is that, like you said, he's walking more than he struck out. He leads all Dodger prospects in walk rate, not walk rate, walk to strikeout ratio.
Okay.
He leads all Dodger prospects in swinging strike percentage. So in the amount that he's whipping, he is a number one among all Dodger prospects. And of course, you mentioned the 7 home runs over just a month after hitting 12 last, which was a career high for him in 5 months. He's had 7 over the first month of the season, roughly, this season. So it's encouraging because some of the more negative stuff that we traditionally associate with power surges and prospects that did in fact happen to Amaya last year aren't there yet.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got sort of the walk and strikeout rates that he maybe had a couple years ago where you thought this was going to be sort of a hit for a decent average and play good defense type of shortstop. Last year, the walk rate goes the wrong direction, strikeout rate goes the wrong direction, but power comes up. This year, again, very small sample size, 22 games. It feels like you're getting the best of the old Jacob Amaya as long as the best with the new Jacob Amaya all in one place. Let me follow up real quick on the defensive thing. Is Amaya a guy that you think sticks at shortstop long term? Like, is he a major league quality defensive player at that position?
I think so. And he's moved around a little bit. They've played him at second base. They've played him maybe a little bit at third base, although I'd have to double check that. Definitely middle of the infield kind of guy who you can trust defensively. He's made real plays already this season that have popped up on my Twitter timeline. So, yeah, definitely a guy who defensively there aren't really a ton of questions about.
So the big picture then, the big question I should say is this is a guy who's, right around 24 years old, which is still young in baseball terms, but it's not like he's in his late teens or early 20s at this point. The Dodgers are coming up on an offseason where beyond this year, they have no shortstop on the roster, unless you like Gavin Lux at shortstop, which it seems like most people don't, unless you want to move Chris Taylor there, which could be a short-term fix, but probably not a long-term one, Trey Turner being a free agent. I'll phrase it to you this way, and I won't necessarily limit you to Jacob Amaya, but including Amaya, do you think the shortstop of the future for the Dodgers is currently in the system? I know he's not the only guy on the 40-man roster who can play there. is Amaya the best bet to be the shortstop of the future, or is there somebody else that even with this sort of surge that Amaya has had, you've got some other guys that you're keeping your eye on?
So when you say in the system, does that include Trey Turner, or is he not included in that exercise?
Well, I mean, outside of Trey Turner, because I think I know how you and I both feel about Trey Turner and how we would like to see his free agency handled if you're the Dodgers, which is re-sign him. But if Trey Turner were to be gone, is there a guy in the system that either in 2023 or maybe you get a stopgap and then 2024 that you would feel okay about playing shortstop?
Okay about? Potentially, yes. But I don't think there's that guy in that system. You say, okay, well, we want to sign the stopgap guy because this guy's ready the next year,
Okay.
like the Dodgers did with Jimmy Rollins and Corey Seager about a half decade ago, or even longer, considering Corey Seager just signed as a free agent to a different team. But I don't think it's that kind of situation or any of these other shortstop prospects. Now, things can change, and if he hits 35 home runs this year and walks more than he strikes out, I think he might put himself into that conversation. But for now, I don't think there's that guy. I know people, might reference the Yankees who did not sign any of the major shortstops this past offseason, in part because they have two very highly regarded shortstop prospects in Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza. And they said, we really like our shortstop prospects. I don't think Anthony Volpe is like a top 20 prospect in the game. So not talking about the same level of prospect, not closing it off entirely, but I think the Dodgers, if Trey Turner were to leave, probably look for a shortstop option that could be than just a stop.
Got it. One other guy just quickly on your list. Eddie Leonard is a prospect you have ranked ahead of Amaya heading into the season. Again, this is all pre whatever has happened this year. So it's not to say that today those rankings are the same. I mean, is Leonard a guy who could play shortstop? Would he be the highest rated shortstop prospect in the Dodgers system by your sort of rankings?
If you're going to put quotations around it, then yes. Because Leonard is a guy who's going to profile much better at, kind of moving around the diamond more so than being a true shortstop prospect defensively.
Okay, got it. Okay, well, Jacob Amaya, again, as Justin said, a guy to watch. There's a small sample size of very encouraging things we're seeing. He's absolutely tearing the cover off the ball at Double-A. Can he maintain the walk-to-strikeout rate while also maintaining the power and all of that? Again, he's got an OPS of almost 1.3, which is absolutely insane. So, Justin, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your insight, and we'll see. Maybe we'll check back in 3 to 6 months, and either this thing will have cratered completely, or maybe Amaya, like you said, maybe he's on pace for 35 home runs and more walks and strikeouts, and things go from there. So that's Justin. I'm Jeff. We appreciate you joining us as always. Check out DodgerBlue.com, DodgerBlue1958, and of course, subscribe, ring the notification bell here on YouTube as well.